not just that you are able to understand yourself, but you have the capacity to understand another human being in a way that you are able to partner with them, team up with them.
How can you tell? How can you define readiness for marriage? What does it look like? So today, the topic before us is there a right time to get married? Understanding readiness versus pressure, especially in a world where, social media will tell you their opinion, your family will tell you their opinion, even society will tell you their opinion about, when to get married. How can we help the singles out there to really tell the difference between readiness and yielding to pressure? And with me in the house today is our wonderful guest. She's a seasoned family life practitioner, and she has helped so many people, singles, married alike, in being intentional with life and with their relationships. So I'm going to allow our guest to introduce herself, what she does, and her work. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mo. Good afternoon,
You're
everyone.
welcome.
My name is Odufa Buoro. I'm a relationship and family life coach. I'm actually certified systems, family systems engineer, certified by the Institute of Family Engineering and Development. My areas of expertise is premarital counseling, couples reconciliation, and singles readiness for life. Right. So that's me.
Oh, you're welcome, Odufa. So, like I said, we want to help the singles out there to understand what it means to be truly ready. So I want to ask you today, even as we start, that what does it really mean to be truly ready? How do you define readiness in your work and with your experience? Maybe in your, or maybe also in your personal life when you know, go down memory lane to when you were dating, and then to how you have helped singles and married people over the years. How can you tell? How can you define readiness for marriage? What does it look like emotionally, mentally, practically, psychologically, spiritually? All right, over to you.
All right, thank you so much for that question, and thank you for having me. So
You're
first of all,
welcome.
before I speak about readiness for marriage and what it means to me, I would just first of all like to say readiness for marriage can differ from person to person, right?
Okay.
Because our life experiences and our levels of maturity differ. So you could find someone who will be ready for marriage as early as 21. I'm not saying that that's get married, and some persons can be ready as far as 45. While some persons may never even be ready for marriage because they are not willing to put in the time, the energy, to develop themselves to an area where they are able to now bring someone along to journey with them in life. So that being said, readiness for me, for marriage, for me, I would say based on my experience, counseling people, I would say readiness for marriage to me is when you have attained some high level of self-awareness, awareness of your environment,
Self-awareness.
and the people around you. Right, self-awareness in the sense that you have been able to, over time, identify your strengths and your weaknesses, and that you have been able to an extent, figure out what you want to do with your life, where you want to be. You have a vision for your life. You have a sense of direction of where you want to head to, and you have also developed some levels of discipline. That means you have formed some core values that help you drive your decisions, your choices, because you know where you want to be. Because a popular speaker that I know would often say that when you know where you are heading, you know who you want to go on that, who you want to go on that journey with you. So readiness for marriage means that you have attained some level of awareness of yourself to the extent that you know where you want to be. You can already project, where you are headed to, so you know who you need. Readiness for marriage, and I would say that readiness for marriage cannot be defined in one simple term. So readiness for marriage to me means that have developed the mental, spiritual, and physical capacity to bear another person's burden. Not just that you are able to understand yourself, but you have the capacity to understand another human being in a way that you are able to partner with them, team up with them, and journey through life. Readiness for marriage also would mean that you are willing to be accountable. You are to be vulnerable. You are willing to share your life with someone. You are willing to be emotionally available for someone else, right? And because when you get married, you are bringing in someone into your life, and it's a lifelong commitment to say that I'm willing to be vulnerable with this person for the rest of my life. I'm willing to be accountable to this person for the rest of my life. It means that I've developed the capacity to be a team player, to be a partner, that I can be interdependent, not just independent. That is what yes for marriage would be. So when you talk about being, because a lot of people will say to be mentally, emotionally, spiritually ready and all of that, and I would say emotionally means that you have been able to know you have the ability to manage conflicts, and you have the ability baptize emotional maturity. You have the ability to manage conflict, to manage your emotions. You have the ability to be able to relate with other people's feelings and empathize with their feelings. That is what it means to be emotionally prepared for marriage, and how quickly are you able to move on from situations, and how quickly are you able to respond to the situations around you. That would be mental readiness. How do you cope with stress? How do you cope with gratitude? How do you cope with different emotions that are around you? So you are able to identify what stresses you, what triggers you, what makes you happy. This is a mental capacity. You are able to control your own emotions as well as manage someone else's emotions. That would what it will look like. Then practically as well, not just that
Wow.
you're emotionally ready, but you are also financially ready. Financially ready means that you have been able to identify your resourcefulness, something that can bring you steady income over a period of time.
Wow.
Thank readiness in one simple term is all
Yeah. Yeah.
before
Thank you.
yes. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. So we are still going to come into that financially ready,
Yes,
because
yes.
it's a whole topic on its own. So we'll still unpack that very soon. But I want to say, okay, from what you have said, thank you for the insights you have shared. I hear you say that, amongst the many things it means to be ready, you have to be ready to take, in a nutshell, you have to be ready to take responsibility for your choices, for your actions. I hear you say that you have to be somebody who is able to define his or her values, boundaries, has clear direction. I hear you say that the person must be somebody who can communicate with empathy and who is able to resolve conflict without
Yeah.
destroying the other person. And
Yeah.
you also mentioned something like imperfect, like, okay, you realize that you are an imperfect human being who wants to build a life with another imperfect human being and who is ready to commit to what it takes. Thank you so much for everything you have shared. You've really given us some great insights into that. So I want to ask now that in case maybe someone comes to you and say, maybe seeking counsel, or maybe a client we're working with, and you kind of sense that, this person, he's not ready for marriage. How can you help? And the person feels that he or she is ready. How can you help the person spot the difference between this readiness that we are talking about, and being in pressure? Is there any, how do we tell? How can you help the person spot the difference? Is there any way you can talk to the person or show the person what is the motivation?
All right. So the difference between being ready for marriage and feeling pressured into marriage is to be able to identify the why you want to get married,
The
right?
why.
Like what I said before, yes, the why is very critical. Why do you want to get married? Is
Why
it
do you
because
want
you
to get
have
married?
found a sense of, I said before, you have found a sense of direction. So now you know the quality of person that you need to go, because that is very critical. You can't want to get married because you don't want to be lonely. You can't want to get married because of status. You can't want to get married because you have come of age. You have found some level of fulfillment in yourself, and now you want to be able to partner with someone else, together, and to be able to journey towards your goal and their goal, as in you're able to blend each other's goal together, and you're able to journey together in life. So if someone comes to me and I want to evaluate whether they're ready for marriage, I'll ask them, where do you want to be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, just to be able to assess that you'll be able to have a sense of direction and purpose for your core values that you imbibe now. Nothing are things that you are committing to, as in you are disciplined enough to be able to use to make your decisions and your choices. So the difference between pressure or willing to give up. So if you are willing to give up your core values, willing to reduce your standard, you are willing to compromise on your business, then the chances are that you're not ready for marriage is there, because you have to. I'm not saying that they are not standard, like redefined. When we're talking about standards, and that one is another topic on its own, there are negotiables and there are non-negotiables. But we that you are ready to trade your non-negotiables, like your spiritual belief, which is always very important to people, is the core of who they are. But you are willing to say, okay, since I believe in God, this person does not believe in God, okay, that's fine, we can just manage our way together. That means that you are not actually ready for marriage, because it means that you have not been rooted in who you are, and for you anything goes. So pressure means that you are willing to take the time, put in the effort to understand yourself and the person that you may want to go on that journey with. Meanwhile, pressure means that anything goes. You are willing to get into a relationship with anyone. You are willing to accept the proposal of anyone. You are willing to marry anyone just because you just want to be able to answer the name wife or husband, right? So it's very important that you're able to define, the difference between pressure and your level of maturity for marriage. And it goes to your why. Why do you want to get married? If you can successfully answer that question, stating your vision and your values, I would know that you are definitely ready for marriage. And also evaluating your financial capacity. And it's not just for the female, it's not just for the male, both male.
For both.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that insight. So like you rightly said, the difference between you yielding to pressure and you truly being ready can be seen through your why, which is more or less like your motivation, the reason you want to get married. That means if you feel pressured, you are most likely doing it out of fear, out of desperation, or out of anxiety. But if you are doing it from a place of resourcefulness, from a place of peace, a place of clarity and purpose, you're most likely, ready. All right. Thank you so much for that insight. So this financial thing that you have been talking about, since we started, I want us to dive into that a little bit. Would you say that financial readiness is also something to be considered? So in your experience, how is financial stability or emotional maturity, how does it how does it play in this role of being truly ready for marriage? Financial stability, emotional stability. Do you even think one is more important than the other?
That's very interesting. I would say, in my opinion, financial stability is as important as emotional stability. Even as mental, all levels of stability should be available within your marriage, because they will all play a role. So you can have all the money in the world, but you don't have the ability to control your emotions, it causes a problem. You might have the ability to control your emotions, but you don't have the resource fund your lifestyle and your livelihood, and it becomes a problem. We all know that, or maybe you don't know, but as a counselor, I've seen that sometimes the issues that people face in their relationship, either about sex or their emotions or finances. So it's not going, and all things are going to play out in your journey. Either it happens in the first year, second year, third year, at some point, because it's forever. So it's going to play out whether you have that, sustain yourself financially, and you have the emotional stability. So both of them are important. Financial stability, I also want to mention, financial stability is not about a person's ability to earn money. Because a lot of people feel that, okay, now I have been able to rent buy a car, so now I'm ready for marriage. That's not financial stability. Financial stability means that you have the capacity to sustain your resources. You are resourceful enough. You have value in yourself enough to be able to create value and to be able to receive value for what you give, and you are able to not just earn money, you are able to also invest and multiply the resources that financially stable. Your spending habits also reflect your financial stability, because you could have money today and then you may not be able to control yourself, and then you go on. Because at the end of the day, when you get married, God blesses you, you have children, your responsibility increases, it doesn't diminish. There will always be bills to pay, water to buy, food, and everything. So a person's ability to sustain livelihood over a period of time, and their ability to have some level of financial discipline, financial responsibility, that is what we call financial stability. So always note, when you meet someone, don't just say, oh, this person has a house, he has a car, or she has a car, she has a house, oh, so she's financially stable. No, how well can they sustain the resources that they have? How is their investment level? How is their ability to manage resources that they have? What is their saving habit? What is their spending habit? That is financial stability. And then you have emotional stability. How do these people, how do they react, to situations, to stress, to pressure, not just how they behave when they are within their territory and their space. How do they respond to pressure at work? How do they respond to pressure with family? How do they respond in pressure to you? And you are also checking your own self too, because of course we are checking for your own maturity, first as an individual before you are looking at someone else. So how are you able to control your emotions? How are you able to somebody else's needs ahead of your own? That is emotional stability. And these two things are very, very relevant and in a relationship. I think that's the much I can say about that.
Wow. You've already said so much. Thank you very much for so you have articulated that both are very, very important, and I agree with you 100%. However, I'm still thinking, can we say emotional maturity is, I'm just wondering, is slightly more important than financial stability? When, you think of financial stability or financial maturity like being, okay, wherever the couples are starting from, right? If they are intentional, if they are very intentional about their finances, and they go all out from the beginning to set what their savings will be, what they will put into investment, to set even what skills, what new skills they will, if they will want to acquire to be able to perhaps earn more, things like that. If they have a system that is taking care of that already from the onset, I'm wondering, don't you think it's a little bit more difficult to quickly put a system in place immediately after marriage that can take care of emotional responsibility and maturity? Because I think character is more difficult to build. I'm just thinking, character is more difficult to build, and then I feel that it's that same character that would ensure, which is emotional maturity, that you both don't destroy one another, or that you both, know how important it is to delay gratification or to say sorry. So I'm just wondering, can we say, can we say that emotional stability, I'm just wondering, is slightly more important than financial? I don't know. What are you going to say to
I
that?
really don't want to say which one. I'm really careful not to say this. I really, really want to say that. Let two of them go hand in hand in the name of God. Let two of them go hand. They are both important.
All right.
They can go side by side, and you can
Because,
create
this
systems for both
question,
of
somebody,
them
a single
while
person out there might throw it at us and just be wondering, okay, which do you think? Yeah, they both are important, because we've also seen some situation that you'll be both emotionally matured, spiritually matured, and then you're financially unwise. Maybe everything you get, you're just eating, or no plans for tomorrow. And then at some point in your marriage, your eyes open and you are like, what have
That's
we
why
gotten ourselves into? Yeah.
as a single person, you are already creating systems for yourself to be able to gauge your level of emotional and financial stability. Just when you want to get married, even now as you are living your life, you are ready, because you have to live first. You have to know how to live yourself first before you even know how to live with someone else. And sometimes we're not attentive enough to how we live our life. So even now, as a single person, you should be checking your own financial responsibility and stability level, and also your emotional maturity, even within the relationships that you're already in. And as early as when you can begin to create systems that help you manage your emotions between each other. Like in the family systems engineering, there are things that we call there's something we call open day, an open communication system, where we say, okay, let's have face-to-face, let's have conversations, not all these surface conversations that we have that don't go anywhere, but deep conversations
meaningful,
about feeling,
intentional conversations.
how you make me feel, what are your goals, what are your aspirations, I support you, and things like that. So you can create those systems. You can say, okay, this is what we spend in a month for family. This is what we spend in a month for food. This is what you can spend individually, for whatever you want for yourself. And you just create those systems and try to follow through with them intentionally.
So it's important to create those systems,
that,
either for financial or for maturity or for education or whatever it is. To create those systems from the onset is always better, and it always gives us a better advantage at the end of the day. Thank you so much for that. So let me quickly ask this question. How can you help someone to navigate these external pressures and staying true to themselves, even whilst considering the biological clock that is ticking, especially for the female gender? You are close to 30 or slightly over 30, and and it is important too, clearly speaking, the biological clock is ticking, and then, that tendency is there for you to be under pressure. So how do you help such a one to navigate, these things, to navigate this external pressure and also staying true to themselves?
all right. This is one core area that I teach singles, because when I'm teaching singles, I'm not just teaching themselves for a
And I don't
relationship.
mind
I
if
teach them
you
how to prepare
can,
for life. Because
I don't mind if you can relate that to your own personal experience.
okay, so how do you deal with pressure, right? Instead of just giving in and trying to settle, because you are under pressure.
Yeah.
To deal with external pressure, you have to be able to deal with pressure within. If you can get some level of fulfillment from within, it will be difficult for the external pressure. Yes, it will get to you at all, because you are a human being. So pressure can want to get to you at one or the other, but you have the first feel of personal self-fulfillment that helps you fight those pressure. So you're not willing to see this biological clock say is ticking. It can stop ticking if you get into the wrong person, and that clock will just stop. It will just start ticking slower than. Yeah, and sometimes, and that's why it's important that to withstand pressure, give yourself to knowledge, expose yourself to truth about marriage, about people, so not just caught up in the Eldorado of thinking that you are living in Cinderella or fairy tale story. For you to be able to deal with the external pressure, deal with the pressure within yourself. What do I mean by that? Love yourself, self-love. It seems like everybody says it. It's not overrated. Love yourself, find fulfillment in yourself. You are born for a reason. You are here for a purpose. You were created, to do something valuable. You are created for people. You are created to be of value to people, not just one individual, one person. Yes, they may be one person that you decide to live life with, and then they become your priority. But you're actually put on this earth to be of value to a lot of persons. So there are gifts and treasures within you that you must be able to discover, so that you can use to serve your world. Because I feel like if you are giving yourself to a higher purpose, it kind of reduces the pressure and the need to want to succumb to those pressure when you are doing something fulfilling, when you feel like you are bring something to people, just by the value that you bring to life and those relationships. It really, really does help you. And why am I saying that? Because before I got married, when I met I don't think I was under any kind of pressure. Yes, of course, people say I had finished school. So people always feel, society feels that once you finish school, the next thing you should do is to get married, right? But I was busy for. I loved myself. I loved who I was. I was enjoying, I'm a believer, so I was enjoying my relationship with God. I was just being myself when I met my husband, and he loved me for just being myself. You know, I was just there gisting with my friends and family. He was my sister's friend. I was just there gisting. It was the core of who I am. I was talking about the things that I value. I was just gisting. I didn't know that somebody was just observing me. What kind of person is this? You know,
You
and
were being
appreciate.
authentic to yourself.
Yeah, yeah, be authentic to yourself. Even in the journey of your life, if you want to, if you are lucky and able to meet someone, you want the person to meet the authentic real you, because when you get into marriage, you need to discover yourself. Yes, in marriage, there's certain things you will discover about yourself, but at least to some extent, you should have discovered some level, you should have gained some level of awareness of yourself. Love yourself, appreciate the value that you carry inside of you, serve a higher purpose, to withstand pressure also. Make sure to make meaningful relationship. Marriage is an important relationship, but sometimes marriage is not the most significant relationship that can bring
Say that
some
again.
Yes, because if you feel like marriage is the only relationship that can bring some level of significance to your life, that it means that people that don't get married don't have any level of significance. And we have seen
And they
a
don't
lot of
even have a
persons who are
life.
not married, who are they are doing a lot for their world, right? So while you are waiting, while you are desiring to be married, be living, be in motion, don't be static. Don't put your life on hold just because you feel you need someone to be able to journey through life with you. Live, I tell singles, live like an entity. Live with a legacy mindset. It's not only when you are married, you begin to build a legacy. Even now, you should be able to know what you want to be able to live in this world. What do you want people to remember you for? Do you want people to remember you as that person that was just waiting to get married and was never able to be of value to them? Or you want to be someone that was living their life, an inspiration to other young people, that you can actually be something and not just be desperate for marriage. So to withstand the pressure, know yourself, serve a higher purpose, make meaningful connections, build relationships that have value. There are so many relationships that can bring value to your life. All relationships don't have to be romantic to be able to bring some level of value to you. And that's why sometimes we turn relationships that should have been of value to us in one way, we turn it into a romantic relationship, because that is all what is in our head. We just want to be loved and be loved and be hugged and be cuddled. But relationship is more than that. Relationship is about what that person is making you be and what they can help you achieve, and how much they can propel you in the direction of your purpose and your vision for your life. So love yourself, serve a higher purpose, make meaningful connections, be on the move, don't be static for whatever reason. Just make sure you are always in environment, communities that nurture you. That's how to be able to withstand pressure. Don't isolate no matter what. Don't isolate. Make sure you are doing something. You're
Thank
connecting with
you.
people. Very, very important. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You said quite a number of things. You mentioned how that somebody like that has to deal with the pressure within, first of all. I'm still going to ask you something about that. You said that person needs to expose himself to truth, you know, and the place of self-love, that it is also very important. Enjoying, and I want to add to it that enjoying present moment also is important. Enjoy where you are on the way to where you are going, you know. And then you talked about meaningful
Yeah.
relationships and community that nurtures you. But let's quickly speak to that pressure within. How can somebody even recognize that there's a pressure within? Then that pressure within, what does it look like? You know, so that somebody would know, okay, this is what the pressure within. And how can such a person deal with this pressure within that you have mentioned? Because that really struck a chord in me. Yeah.
So when you know that you have some pressure within, is when you're not able to fully show up as your 100% self. Like you're not able to build relationships. It means that there's some, because you should be able to build relationships, start and make friends with people who are of like minds. Which means that you don't really have a clear sense of direction. So you're just going about life. Today you want to work here, tomorrow you want to work there, you want to do this, tomorrow you want to do that. So there is no, that you don't really follow through, you know, with projects or things that you want to do. That there is some bit of internal conflict. You find yourself constantly unmotivated, uninspired. You don't find yourself wanting to do a lot you find yourself holding yourself back. You don't want to put yourself out there. You don't want people to really see you. You don't want to know, it could really tell that there may be some internal conflicts within that you're not dealing with, because as
That
a
you need
human
to
being, you should
resolve.
always be willing to show up.
Yes,
that you need to resolve. So there should be a level of confidence within yourself. If you find yourself always triggered, maybe somebody says something to you and you see it as a personal, attack on yourself, you need to also check whether there is anything that may be triggering some level of insecurities, within you. So I think that those are the internal conflicts we deal with, when you feel, and then when you're having those loves me, and anything any statement people make, you feel like they're talking about you. You're always on the edge of life. You're not able to focus on things that you are doing. You're feeling unmotivated, uninspired. Those are triggers that there's some internal conflict. And family
thank
systems
you.
engineering, we have some tools that we use to help singles determine if they have some level of internal conflict, because sometimes
Yeah.
those conflicts can be caused by your past, your
Yeah.
upbringing, the experiences that you've had.
Yeah.
Have tools in the family systems engineering that can actually help you evaluate if you are where the root cause of those internal conflicts, and help you deal with it even as you journey into marriage, because marriage is not going to solve your internal conflicts. You will get married and maybe it's only on that wedding day that you'll be happy to be married, but it doesn't change the fact that something within you that you need to be able to work on. Right. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for this great insight you've been dropping. I was just going to ask, about assessments and stuff like that, because that was going to be my next question. But before I even ask that, you've talked about so many things. You're not being able to show up. That one struck a chord, as your true self. You also talked about, some things triggering your insecurities. So these are things that, that can really help you to know if you have some pressures within and some things you really, really need to deal with. That, when you don't also follow through with a project, or when you feel unmotivated most times, with the things you do. Those are very, very clear signals. And I really, really thank you for bringing those things up. Now, speaking of assessment, with the work you do, so what assessments do you help singles to check? What part of, what I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what are the things you help them to check through this assessment, so that when they're out there, as they are listening to this podcast, some might even want to say, yeah, I want to work with this woman. I think I need to do this assessment. What are these assessments? What are these tools? And what, do these assessments help us to achieve?
Okay, so we
And
have
I think that
assessments
might be
that
my
can
last question
determine
for
if you
today.
are ready
Yeah,
for it. Yeah,
yeah,
so
please go ahead.
we have assessments, and it's from the, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so there are different assessments that can help you determine, where you have come from and where you are now, before we can even help you determine how we can get you to where you want to be. So when we use tools like the tree of life, the jar of life, you may not fully understand it, but what this thing helps us achieve is that we are able to know where you are coming from. We are able to dig past to be able to determine what has formed, your internal filters, because how you have experienced life, shapes how you see the world, how you see yourself, how you see relationships. So we have tools that can help us on your upbringing, the emotional experiences that you have had, and the environments that you have been in, to see how they have shaped your perspective about life, about yourself, about the people around you. To be able to discover how it has shaped your values, your beliefs, because we are who we are by the reasons of the things we have exposed ourselves to, right? So when we use those tools to determine the things you have exposed yourself to, so that we can know, okay, so what, because when you expose yourself to new things and you expose yourself to new experiences, it can create new, sets of values and perspective of how you see yourself and the world. So we have tools like that that can help you determine if you are ready for marriage, help you discover your personality, type, who you are, why you act the way you do. And then we can also help you discover even your love language. And I love doing love language for singles because sometimes when people are surprised at how to respond to the opposite sex, how they respond to certain relationship, so they're catching feelings, for someone that they never thought. And it could just because that person is speaking your love language and you don't even know it. So I love to help people discover their love language and also assess your belief system. What are the things that you believe in? Because beliefs many times is what drives our actions and our behaviors. So we have tools that will also help you identify your core beliefs. And all of these things are important so that by the time you meet someone else, you are able to fully, because if you're not aware of yourself, it's difficult to be aware of somebody else. If you're not given discipline of observing your own self, you may not be as disciplined as you think to be able to observe someone and give attention. I always tell singles that nothing reveals the character of a person like time, but it's not just about time, it's about your level of attentiveness and your ability to assess, different situations. So we have tools like that can help you assess your beliefs, your values, we can also help you create your vision. We have tools that can help you determine your vision. Will ask you, I'll be able to help you determine and project where you want to be, so those are the tools that we can.
Thank you so much. So like you have heard, my guest has mentioned so many tools that have been drawn from the network of family system engineering, approach. We have so many tools and so many assessments that, we can use that can help you into checking those things that need to be checked, before you get married, as you prepare for marriage. So many things that you need to check and that you need to grow in, that you need to, like she has even mentioned some of them. You need to, your internal filters and how you see the world, these things can be checked. So thank you so very much for that. And in rounding up, even though I didn't want to ask this question because I just feel that, time is running against us, but I would ask, and I want you to answer, within a few minutes, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, what red flags are and how singles out there, because it seems as if some people, when they're under pressure, they are unable to see red flags that is so flashing in their eyes that people around can see. So what are red flags and how can singles out there recognize this, even when they're in a relationship and they feel like, oh, I don't want to, let go of this relationship? How can they, recognize red flags? Yeah, thank you.
You recognize red flags by like I said, being very attentive. Don't be so caught up with the butterflies in your tummy and you're so in love and you are not willing to now pay attention, to the person. And that's why I said you have to be someone that is very self-aware and very self-observant to be able to observe somebody else. So you are always conscious. It's not like when you are dating, you have to be like you have to be like a company interviewer. No company will just interview anybody. You don't have the question, okay, just come like that. You want someone that is qualified, partner with the journey. And marriage is more serious than an organization where you can sack the person and bring in another person, right? So the red flags are there when there are certain conversations that people cannot have. So you're always having surface conversations. The person doesn't want to talk about themselves too much, doesn't want to talk about their background. When someone says that I don't have any friends, that could be a red flag. Don't just think that they are just, you want to know why they don't. Because sometimes I ask people when they come for private session, the person, who is your close friend and how have you been friends? What is your longest relationship? So, and when someone tells me that I don't really have anything, I'm like, okay, so what happened in your secondary school, in your university, as in all of this time, you're like, so why is it now that you feel like you need someone? Because people like that have the tendency to be by themselves. And that means you could have a conflict in your relationship and they're able to just keep malice. They have that tendency. I'm not saying it's always the case. So you should always be looking for things like that. They don't have any stories about their past, their family background. They don't like to talk about their history. That is a red flag. How they communicate, not just to you, but to people around there. How they communicate under pressure is also where you can identify a red flag. How they respond to popular stories. Maybe something happens on the internet and you are talking about it, and you are seeing that this person's perspective is different from your own, and you begin to see that you don't share the same beliefs and you don't share the same core values. It's a red flag that this relationship is likely, if both of you are not willing to come to a compromise, likely not work.
Wow.
Red flag. When your visions and your values, you want to go to church, they say let's go to club. As in, these are things that is red flag, because, and sometimes some red flags, it doesn't mean that the relationship cannot work, because if two people are intentional, about making compromise and trying to complement each other, it can work. You have to be able to determine what works for me, because the red flag that you may break up with someone, for somebody else may be able to deal with it. So you have to be able to ask yourself, what for me? So if smoking is a deal breaker for you, you don't want to be in that kind of relationship. Somebody else may be okay being married with someone that is smoking, right? So you should be able to be observant and attentive to conversations that you have, their willingness to talk about their past, to be able to hear even what they are not saying, and things that they are trying to avoid, conversations that they are trying to avoid. Is also, how do they resolve conflicts? How do they resolve conflicts? Are there people that they will talk to you for days? Do they respect you? Is another question. Do they involve you in decision making? Do you feel like you are priority in the relationship? Those are red flags. When somebody in your life can go for days without talking to you, I don't know. For me, I don't know how people don't know how to.
Thank you
Communication is
so
everything in life.
much.
Have other people, right? So those are red flags.
Thank you.
But in every case, just be observant and very attentive. See them, you will see the red flag.
Thank you so much. I know we can go on and on and on if we have all the time. So what's the things that are red flags to me might not be red flags to somebody else, like you have said. And then red flags doesn't necessarily mean deal breakers. Of course, some red flags might be deal breakers and some might not. So that is why you have to be intentional, open your eyes. And you said something again. I think it's all boils down to this issue of value alignment, because if you don't even know what your values are, how do you even know the things that are red flags or the things that are deal breakers for you? You need to know yourself, discover yourself. Who are you? What are your values? I think that is a good place to start from, because from these then you begin to start knowing what those values are, all right. Thank you so much for the eye-opening conversation. And if you are a single person, whether you're single or even dating with intention, and you are out there, you are listening, and maybe perhaps you're still waiting, we want you to remember that you are not behind. Every season always has its own purpose. And yours, maybe the season you are in right now, is for you to build yourself, to, build your create that self-awareness, know who you are, strengthen your values, and prepare for that kind of love that aligns with who you are. So I want to say a very huge thank you to my guest. You said what?
Let me just
What
say
did you
something. When
say?
you were talking, and you were talking about how you were encouraging the singles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say to the singles,
Okay.
enjoy your best season of your life. This is one of the best seasons of life. Enjoy it. Once you become us, never go back to being you. So enjoy this time that
I
you
like
have
that.
with yourself. It's the best time that you have to know yourself, to love yourself, to do the things you want to do, be anything you want to be. Because once you become us, you will always be us. Even if at the end of the day, I'm not saying anything will happen, if something happens, you can never be that person that you used to be. Time has passed. So, and singleness can be a curse to you, or it can be a blessing, depending on your perspective. If you see it as a time, reflect and be your best self, it will be great for you. Why? Because you will be saying, why do I have to have this mindset? One, you cannot marry yourself. Two, you're like on a journey that you may not necessarily have control over. It's like being on a flight. and you're on the air, you're not going to jump down on the flight from the flight because you don't like it. You're
Mhm.
asking yourself, what can I do while I'm in this flight? Can I read a book, listen to music? What do I do while
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the flight to land? Right. So enjoy this season. Enjoy
Enjoy
it.
this season.
Know yourself, serve a higher purpose, and just know that you're not the only single person. Now, single, you're single, like they say, two person. So
Singleness is a time to be enjoyed, right? Enjoy it, discover your purpose, go passionately after your dreams,
yeah.
improve on who you are, be the best version of yourself. Yeah, thank you so, so much. Thank you so much, my dear guests. Thank you for such depth and wisdom that you've shared with us and with every single out there. And I also want to thank you I want to say thank you to our listeners. And I want to encourage you that if you find this episode very helpful, we would like for you to share it with a friend and subscribe to this channel. Leave us a review because it helps some more people to discover this channel, and by so doing they find this important conversation. So until the next time we meet again, I'm Mosunmola, Aiyanyo, and I want to say that marriage doesn't fix emptiness. It doesn't fix loneliness. It doesn't fill your emptiness. It doesn't fix brokenness. So whilst on this journey of singleness, discover your purpose, like we have said. Know the values that you are aligned with, and keep on being the best version of yourself. Until we meet again, it's bye for now. Bye.